Los Angeles, the city of endless summer. But beneath the veneer of Hollywood glamour and sun-drenched beaches, a profound, unsettling tension is brewing. Recent years have seen the city grappling with a narrative that starkly contrasts its sunny image, a pervasive sense of growing crime. While the average Angelino might only see an extra news headline or a slightly more cautious walk home, the full picture is one of growing volatility. The city is grappling with a paradox. Homicides have increased by a significant 9%, yet the number of shooting victims has simultaneously fallen by 7%. This bizarre contradiction is the first sign that the narrative of crime in L.A. is not simple, not linear, but deeply fractured. Dig deeper, and the increases continue. Aggravated assault saw an 8% rise. Robbery increased by 7%. Violent crime overall jumped 8%. And property crime soared by a massive 19%. This isn't just a blip. It's a systemic shift, a profound erosion of public safety that demands a closer look. What unseen forces are driving these numbers? And what does this growing criminal tide truly mean for the residents of the City of Angels? The paradox of violence, homicide versus shooting victims. The most compelling and unsettling data point in Los Angeles' recent crime figures lies in the contrast between its homicides and its shooting victims. On one hand, the city recorded a significant 9% increase in homicides. This raw number, the ultimate measure of fatal violence, signals a devastating year. On the other hand, the number of shooting victims fell by 7%. How can more people be murdered while fewer people are being shot? The answer, chillingly, is found in the lethality of the violence. Experts suggest this is an emerging national trend, where the overall number of shootings might decrease due to policing efforts or shifting gang dynamics, but the rate at which those shootings turn fatal is increasing. This is known as the gun assault case fatality rate. Several factors may be at play. The proliferation of ghost guns, untraceable, self-assembled firearms, and modifications to existing weapons can increase their destructive power. Furthermore, there is the simple, tragic reality of location and proximity. If fewer people are shot, but a greater percentage of them are killed, it indicates that those attacks were more direct, more concentrated, and more likely to involve close-range, lethal wounds to vital organs. The reduction in victims shot suggests that violence prevention efforts may be having a minor, localized effect on incidents, but the 9% spike in homicides brutally highlights that when violence does occur, it is deadlier than ever before. This paradox creates a dangerous psychological environment, where residents may see reassuring signs of fewer overall incidents, but the severity of each single act of violence is escalating. The rise in person crimes, aggravated assault, and robbery. Moving beyond the lethal, the data clearly shows a troubling expansion in other personal crimes that involve direct confrontation and fear. Aggravated assaults, crimes involving a weapon or resulting in serious bodily harm, saw an 8% increase. This surge is a strong indicator of escalating interpersonal and street-level conflicts. Unlike simple assault, aggravated assault suggests a greater willingness on the part of the perpetrator to inflict serious injury, often linked to rising desperation or the increased carrying of weapons. Robbery, the theft of property by force or threat of force, also rose by 7%. This crime category acts as a crucial barometer for economic hardship intersecting with public safety. The rise in robbery is closely tied to the state of the economy and the immediate, visible need for cash or valuable goods. High-profile smash-and-grab incidents and organized retail theft often capture headlines, but the 7% increase in robbery also represents countless individual moments of terror. A person held up at an ATM, a business owner confronted at closing time. The reasons behind these increases are multifaceted, but most criminologists point to a confluence of factors, many rooted in the instability that followed the global pandemic, widespread economic distress, high inflation rates, social isolation, and the weakening of community institutions, all which contribute to an environment where people are more likely to resort to violence or theft. The tidal wave of property crime, the 19% jump. While violent crime grabs headlines, the most staggering figure in the data is the 19% increase in property crime. This category includes offenses like burglary, larceny theft, and motor vehicle theft. This massive jump is the most palpable sign of the growing crime issue for the average Angelino. It's the theft of catalytic converters, packages stolen from porches, car break-ins, and the repeated targeting of businesses. The sheer volume of this increase suggests a pervasive breakdown of legal and social deterrence. A 19% jump means that for every 100 property crimes that happened last year, there are now 119. This creates a state of chronic, low-level anxiety throughout the city. The reasons for this surge are often attributed to policy shifts, such as changes in bail laws for certain nonviolent offenses, which critics argue have reduced the consequences for repeat offenders. Additionally, the increase in organized retail crime, where groups coordinate to steal large amounts of merchandise for resale, skews the figure significantly. This is no longer the opportunistic theft of a single item, but a sophisticated criminal enterprise that impacts insurance rates, forces businesses to close, and fundamentally alters the feeling of security in retail spaces and neighborhoods alike. The enormous 19% figure transforms crime from an abstract issue into a direct, personal concern for virtually every resident and business owner in Los Angeles. The cumulative impact: an 8% increase in overall violent crime. Aggregated, the specific increases in homicide, aggravated assault, and robbery resulted in an 8% overall increase in violent crime. This single number serves as a powerful summary of the city's current safety crisis. An 8% increase is a substantial metric that places Los Angeles outside of the national trend of a mild decline in violent crime seen in some other major U.S. cities. The concentration of this violence is also critically important. Research consistently shows that crime is not evenly distributed. Often, a disproportionate amount of crime occurs in a small number of hot spots, specific neighborhoods, street corners, or even times of day. This means that while the average resident might not feel the 8% increase daily, those living in vulnerable, low-income communities are experiencing the effects of the surge far more acutely, suffering from compounding trauma, fear, and a lack of social stability. Furthermore, this general increase has a profound impact on city resources. More violent crimes mean overburdened police departments, a saturated court system, and overflowing emergency rooms, diverting funds and attention away from long-term social programs that could address the root causes of the criminal surge. The underlying currents: socioeconomic and policy factors. To understand the why behind these daunting statistics, one must look beneath the surface of the raw data to the socioeconomic and policy shifts affecting the city. The post-pandemic environment has left an economic divide wider than ever. The search results highlight that spikes in violence are often directly connected to local unemployment and school closures in low-income areas, pushing young men out of work and school, making them more vulnerable to involvement in crime. Neighborhoods with concentrated poverty, where at least 30% of the population lives below the poverty line, have historically higher rates of homicide and other violence, a pattern exacerbated by recent instability. The data on the increase in robbery and aggravated assault is a chilling reflection of this economic despair. The city's crisis with homelessness also intersects directly with crime statistics, although it is a complex relationship that defies simple correlation. The visual, undeniable human suffering on the streets can foster a greater sense of disorder, which research suggests can lower the public's perception of safety and encourage some types of opportunistic crime. Finally, a continued national debate focuses on criminal justice reform measures. The question remains: are legislative changes designed to reduce incarceration, such as those altering prosecution or sentencing guidelines for certain nonviolent crimes, inadvertently contributing to the massive 19% increase in property crime by reducing deterrence for repeat offenders? This policy crime nexus is the heart of the current political and social struggle in Los Angeles, pitting reform advocates against public safety hardliners. The path forward, mitigation, and conclusion. The data for Los Angeles presents a powerful challenge. A city simultaneously reeling from a 9% rise in homicides and a terrifying 19% spike in property crime. The current trend line is unsustainable, threatening to compromise the quality of life and economic viability that the city has spent decades building. The solution, therefore, cannot be a single-point fix, but a multi-pronged strategy that addresses both the immediate, visible symptoms and the long-term, underlying causes.